Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wellness Reboot 3-Day Challenge. You are on day 2 of the challenge, so if you haven't watched day 1, make sure you go back and do that. It's all about, are you sabotaging your fitness goals? We go over 10 common ways that people kind of self-sabotage and how to overcome that. Super helpful, super important, so if you haven't watched it already, make sure you go back and do that. For day 2, I'm in day 2's workbook, which you should have available for download. We're going to be talking about eating out for gut health. And I know gut health is kind of like a trendy, clickbaity type of word, but when I say gut health, I really just mean eating out and being more mindful and healthy. Gut health is kind of important in everything that we do. When you do whatever you eat affects your gut health. And your gut health is pretty much your bacterial balance in your stomach. So if you have healthy bacteria, it tends to happen when you eat more whole nutrient dense foods, things with probiotics and prebiotics, live bacteria. That's the good stuff that kind of helps eat any diseases or not to sound gross, but like worms and things like that. It kind of helps balance that out. And the more kind of like sugary processed stuff we have, that tends to feed the bad bacteria, and we'll have more of that. So we want to have more good bacteria than bad bacteria. If we have too much bad bacteria and not enough good bacteria, that can cause some problems. Like there's more and more research coming out, like depression is linked to gut health. A lot of mental health issues can be linked to gut health. Any bowel irregularities, when you have trouble going to the bathroom, taking a probiotic, which is good bacteria, it can help kind of break down the food, make your bowel movements more normal. So there's a lot linked to it. Any gassiness, bloating, upset stomach, irritable bowel. I mean, there's just endless things. So when I say gut health, I really just mean overall health. Okay. So let's dive into this. So it's easier to stay on track when you eat at home every meal time, right? If we could eat at home every single day, we can control what we're eating. We don't have to worry about it being processed, nice home cooked meals. You're responsible for the ingredients, giving you the advantage of knowing exactly what you're eating. It's a lot easier to track it if you're tracking your food as well. This is an excellent way to adhere to your nutrition and health goals. So depending on what phase you're in your fitness journey, if you are in a more strict phase where you want to, maybe tighten up your routine, eating in more and more home cooked meals could be a good idea. But that doesn't mean you can eliminate eating out altogether, right? It's the perfect solution to avoid and limit added sugars, excessive salt, ingredients, and food triggers that can lead to reactions, sensitivities, gastric symptoms, weight gain, or health issues, which has definitely been on the rise over the past 10, 20 years. We're seeing this rise in all these autoimmune disorders, these food sensitivities, gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance, a lot of gastric symptoms, bloating, irregularities, and a lot of it could be from the types of food that we eat, right? Cooking at home indisputably gives you complete control of your diet, yet it's realistic to acknowledge that we all yearn for the occasional change in scenery, social interactions, and the sheer joy shared meals at restaurants or family and friends' homes can bring. And that's where food, I talk about this, food is more than just energy, right? Food is culture, food is gathering with people, food is tradition, food is an experience. So it's more than just energy in, energy out. Okay. And here's a big one, not to mention a night off of cooking. Yay! I mean, unless we are a stay-at-home wife and we have no job, no kids, no responsibility, I think, or you truly love cooking, it's just a hassle. It is a long thing to do to actually sit there and prep home cooked meals from scratch, and the cleanup. It's a big process. And if you work a full shift and you have kids, even if you don't have kids, maybe you have fur babies or plants or whatever, you're exhausted at the end of the day. And the last thing you want to do is cook a meal. And luckily I have some tactics that can help you with that. That's for another time. But this is where eating out is sometimes necessary and should be enjoyed. In fact, it should be your opportunity to reconnect with loved ones, engage in catch-up conversations, and soak in the ambiance of social gatherings. Because being social is actually a key component of our health and wellness. There's been tons of research done that people who are a part of communities, people who engage and have more social activities, go to church, things like that, they tend to live longer lives. And it's because People who are more socially isolated and they don't have as big of friend groups tend to not live as long, because being social creatures and being in groups is a part of who we are as humans. So it is a good thing. However, dining out can often lead to digestive issues such as gas, bloating, and reflux due to the uncertainty of restaurant ingredients, but the fear of symptoms attacking during social gatherings can be managed, right? So here's some tips for eating out, whether this is at somebody else's house or you're going out somewhere to eat. I'm going to give you some actionable steps, okay? So 1, don't arrive starving hungry. I've done this before and I've regretted it. Let me know if this has been you. You wait all day. You're like, I'm going to be eating something really bad. I'm going to be eating this big burger with mac and cheese. I'm going to get a cheesecake piece after. I know it. So I'm just like going to not eat anything all day. Like I'll eat something really light in the morning, but I'm going to starve myself. Okay, so I can save room for the calories. Then you're starving. Then you end up getting an appetizer on top of things. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and then you end up feeling disgusted. Like you didn't even want it at that point. Like you just overate because you were so hungry, right? And maybe you would have eaten a lot more moderately. Maybe you would have got a side salad with the burger instead of mac and cheese if maybe you would have ate like actual meals throughout the day, right? So consider having a light, nutritious snack at home before heading out to your lunch or dinner gathering. This approach not only curbs your hunger, but also makes it less likely for you to overindulge in dishes that could leave you feeling unwell or too full afterwards. I've had this happen time and time again. And, plan ahead of time, as if you feel like usually protein is not as widely available with these types of food gatherings. When we go out to eat, it's more abundant in carbs and fats simply because they taste better. So with that, think ahead of time and go, well, maybe I'll drink a protein shake before I leave, or I'll have a small serving of protein with meat, or cottage cheese, or whatever it may be, before you leave. So that way at least you got your protein in. You'll feel a little bit more full longer, and then that way you can have your carbs and fats and not feel as guilty about it, and maybe you'll eat less. Or maybe if you don't know if there's going to be veggies or fruits there, that's another thing that you can kind of stock up on so you can eat whatever you're going to be eating there. So think about what the gap's going to be and eat that before you leave. Another one, I'm huge with this one. Let me move this out of the way. Check out the restaurant menu online beforehand. If it's available, that's what I do. Usually on the drive there, if I have enough time, I'm always looking up the restaurant menu to see what the options are. Even if the calories aren't available, I'm still gonna look through so I don't feel kind of peer pressured into ordering something that maybe I don't want or something that doesn't fit into my goals. So I'll look through it and go, okay, so they do have kind of like a protein, starchy carb veggie options. That looks good. Here's like the super greasy, burger and mac and cheese options. And I kind of keep those in mind. Here's a salad. Would I eat that? Yeah, that looks pretty good. I can have this dressing. And it gives you a chance to just think if you have any, eating restrictions as well. Maybe you do have IBS, or maybe you do have a gluten intolerance or something like that where you need to limit certain foods. You can look ahead of time. You can also have your appetizer, starter, main course pre-selected. You can decide if you want to drink, if you're going to do dessert. My rule of thumb that I tell my clients is either you do drink, appetizer, or dessert, not all three. Okay, pick one. However, keep a plan B in mind because restaurants can occasionally run out of specific dishes, and having an alternative choice at the ready can help avoid disappointment. And once you do this for so long, you'll find that there's kind of like go-to types of meals. Like I kind of do this now too. Like I kind of have a go-to meal that I'll fall back on, like a standard type of like chicken salad I'll usually go through because you see like most restaurants have it and they tend to be good. Or you'll have like a go-to drink or just things like that. And again, the more reps you put in, it gets easier to see the trends wherever you go, and you'll get better at it. Furthermore, don't hesitate to ring the restaurant in advance with queries about specific ingredients. And this is more so if you do have, any dietary restrictions more so that's going to affect you, okay? Then we have personalizing your order. Feel free to inquire about ingredients and request changes if necessary. Most restaurants and servers understand customers' dietary needs. I have a client who has IBS, and sometimes she'll ask to omit like certain oils from it, you can actually ask them to do that, to cook things not in a certain oil, or to have, if it comes with a sauce, keep the sauce on the side, keep the dressing on the side. There's little things that you can do. Or if a meal has, fries and it doesn't have a substitute, you can still ask. And I'm sure, it might cost a couple extra dollars more, but if your goals mean something to you, and you can afford it, say, hey, can I have like a side salad instead of these fries? Even though it's not clearly stated as an option, I don't see why that would be an issue. Okay, something like that. Or you can opt for, a sandwich without a bun, or see if there's a lettuce wrap. There's different ways that you can get around things. Red Robin's great for this. I always do the lettuce wrap bun for my burgers. And they have like zucchini fries sometimes. They have fruit as an endless side. All kinds of different fun things. Okay. So don't be afraid to get creative and think about different ways you can kind of customize your order. Then we have keep an eye on portion size. This is big because restaurants are notorious for serving larger portions, which can often lead to overeating, feeling too full, and ending up with digestion problems like reflux or bloating. If you're hungry when you arrive, you're more likely to overindulge. A good workaround could be sharing a main dish with a friend, or asking the restaurant to set aside half of your meal for takeout before you start eating. If appetizers are more to your liking, consider ordering 2 small sides to enjoy as your main meal, and add a salad with dressing on the side. So these are all great options. I've done this before. If you love appetizers, consider having an appetizer as your main meal. A lot of times you can get wings, and then maybe another side, and then get like a side salad. That would be a great way to kind of make your own meal out of appetizers if you like that. When I get desserts, sorry, my nose is itchy. If I get a dessert, I'm always splitting it with my husband. So that way we're really only eating half of it. So really it's a lot better of a portion size. A good example of the portioning for a main dish would be Olive Garden. Olive Garden gives you like 2 chicken breasts. Even when I got the healthier unbreaded chicken, and I got like broccoli on the side and things like that, they gave me 2 full chicken breasts. So I knew like I'm only gonna eat one and I'm gonna take the other one to go. And think about that with yourself too. Like, especially Italian food, I feel like you always get these massive portions. So think about how, like, am I gonna eat the whole thing? And it's okay also, if you don't take it to go, it's okay to leave food on your plate, because I know we were taught from a young age to clear our plate. If not, it's waste. But where else is the extra food going? It's just going into your body, and you're going to be storing that, and you're going to be uncomfortable just because you wanted to clear your plate, right? So don't be afraid to leave food on your plate as well, and stop and say like, hey, I'm full, I'm satisfied, this is enough for me, okay? Then we have take time to chew and savor your food. This one I struggle with. Me and my husband both are fast eaters. I have no idea where this came from. I just eat fast. It's just what I do. His is more military. He was rushed and forced to eat fast. When they sat down to eat, they were kind of timed, so that's why he eats fast. But nowadays, we all seem to rush to finish everything, especially our food. Slow down and remember to chew your food properly. Take your time during meals. Eating too quickly often leads to overeating, indigestion, bloating, gas, and sometimes the uncomfortable dumping syndrome. Thorough chewing is a crucial step in the digestion process. This will help you digest foods better and reduce the uncomfortable symptoms mentioned above. It also allows you to slow down and better appreciate flavors. I do find myself doing this. If I have a meal and I see myself eating a little bit faster than everybody, I'll kind of eat, take a bite, chew it, set my fork down, okay? Have some conversation, and then I'll try to pace myself throughout the meal. And this takes practice. This is something that takes a lot of time and effort. You're not going to be perfect at first. It's a very conscious effort. Being more present with your meals and not like mindlessly eating while watching TV. We always kind of make a joke out of it, me and my husband, if we're watching a show on Netflix or Hulu or something, we always laugh at like how quickly we ate our food, because we'll pause to put our food away and it's like under 10 minutes because we're maybe hungry or we just ate really fast. But if we're at a restaurant, we try to take our time a little bit and really chew our food properly. It helps, like I said, with the digestive process, absorb things a little bit better, all that fun stuff. All right, then we have discover deep breathing for better digestion before your meal arrives. This one's a little bit different. I think breathing in general is going to be important. This one may seem awkward initially, but before your meal arrives, take a few moments to practice deep breathing. You can absolutely do this without making it obvious to others. It basically calms your central nervous system, and it allows you to not feel like in that fight or flight mode, because a lot of us do take deep, shallow breaths, and it just helps with digestion because your body can be more relaxed and it goes through the process better. So counting to like 3 or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I usually count to 3 to 5 a couple times just to really exhale everything. Inhale deeply, breathe in through the nose, fill up the belly, breathe out through the mouth, and let it all go. And then we have Binks meowing in the background. But also a good way to practice this is do more meditation. You could do guided meditations. You could do YouTube. You can simply sit quietly with yourself and your thoughts and focus on your breathing and your thoughts. This is generally a pretty uncomfortable practice for a lot of people to do. Which means we need it because we are usually shallow breathers. Our minds are racing everywhere. We're not even thinking about how we're breathing or what our body's doing. So meditation and mindfulness is super helpful. And yoga. If you have a really good yoga practice, even me just taking yoga, an hour yoga class once a week is enough for me to get into the habit. I noticed from the beginning of class to the end of class how different my breathing is, how different my nervous system feels, how much more relaxed I feel. It's like night and day. So even little things like that over time, I think will help you with your breathing, help relax your body. Again, this isn't something that's going to change overnight. This is a skill that needs to be worked on over time. And as you can see, all these little skills together can be worked on. And then, one day you're just be like, wow, like I'm so much better than what I was before. And that's exactly what I do. I'm like, wow, I'm so much better than what I was like a couple of years ago. Like I've been working on these things for months and months and years. And like, yeah, you're going to have days where you're not following this stuff and that's cool. But you just got to, again, hop back on the wagon and keep going. Okay. And then we have remember your enzymes. For those with food intolerances, such as lactose intolerance, dining out can sometimes be a source of anxiety. However, it's essential to remember that your food intolerance doesn't have to limit your enjoyment or social occasions. An essential step in managing your intolerance while eating out involves bringing and using your necessary enzyme supplements. Yeah, so for those of you who do have food intolerances, definitely you might have certain things that you rely on, herbal supplements, enzymes. I know my dad takes an enzyme because he's lactose intolerant and he loves it. It really helps him with the food so he can enjoy his food. He doesn't have upset stomach. But even just something like simply taking a probiotic, when I take one every day in the morning, I just notice my regularity is so much better, and I don't necessarily have a specific issue, but it's just something I notice it helps my bowel movements a little bit better. So even just something like that, and if you have issues or you feel like you're bloated or a little bit more regular during a certain period of time, think about that. Like maybe you can just add something simple like a probiotic into your everyday life, and that can help some things. This can also help if you have a heavier meal or a really fatty meal or something that's a little bit more stressful on your digestive tract. It can help you kind of digest a little bit better with less discomfort. It's a little bit more efficient. So that's something too. Then we have our last two here, which is consider your alcohol intake and eating at a family or friend's home. So alcohol, this is a big one. I have a podcast episode on all about alcohol and the effects of it on our health. It's really great if you want to listen to that. It's the Tea with Tina podcast. Just search up alcohol. But remember that when you drink alcohol, your body prioritizes its digestion, which can interfere with the digestion of your food. This often leads to digestive discomfort and makes any existing gut issues worse. Because alcohol is an inflammatory, there's a lot of negative side effects that happen with it. So there's a big chain reaction. But to help limit symptoms, consider your alcohol intake and when possible, choose alcohol-free alternatives. So can you do mocktails? Mocktails are really popular right now. They're a lot more available at certain restaurants. And when you go out to eat, even at friends' houses, you can maybe bring your own little mixtures so you can kind of, mix whatever they have with your own little mocktail recipe. Or maybe just consume less alcohol than what you're already doing. If you typically have 3 drinks, maybe go for for two. If you have, full sugar, full carb beer or mixed drink, maybe try a lighter version. Can you use a diet mixer? Can you do a skinny margarita? Can you do a light beer? Can you do a seltzer? How can you make it a little bit better, right? And then staying hydrated by switching between your alcoholic drinks and a glass of water is helpful too. Make sure you balance that water intake. It's going to help you feel a lot better. Hangover symptoms aren't going to be as bad. And it's just going to help you feel better overall, okay? Then we have eating at a family or a friend's home. So this is a big one too. If you're not going out to eat and you're at a friend's house, it can be a little bit different versus a restaurant, right? So tell your host about your dietary needs ahead of time. And if they know you, you may not have shared this with them, even if you're close with them, or they may not even think about it. So don't feel bad, letting them know. And if you say it, in a kind way, they shouldn't be shaming you about it. Sharing this information early can prevent awkward questions and moments of turning down dishes. And that's a great way to do things. And even if maybe you don't have a intolerance to something or something medical, and it's more for your weight loss goals or just your goals in general and you're trying to eat healthier, people can kind of feel defensive towards that depending on who it is. So if you know your family members or your friends and you know that maybe they might not respond well to that, as in oh, you need to live a little, or oh, no, just eat normal. This may be a little unorthodox, but don't feel bad if you blame it on something else and say like, hey, I do get really bad bathroom issues, or like my stomach gets really upset and I'm up all night, so I have to eat this instead. Do you mind if I bring this? Or do you mind if you keep this for me, a side salad versus, the mac and cheese, and I'm going to be eating that, just so you know, because I'm up all night. So don't be afraid to kind of blame it on something that's more like people are accepting of, because it's a shame, but we're in that world where sometimes people are like, oh, you're on that diet all the time, especially during the holidays. You're on that diet all the time. Can you just like live a little and relax? Like, your goals, you know who you are. So don't be afraid to kind of explain it in a different way where maybe they'll accept it a little bit more, right? And furthermore, it can also be a good idea to offer to bring a dish or two that suits your diet. So bring your own things. I know people who bring their own dressings to restaurants. They'll kind of just know what to do. Like I said, make their own dishes, and who knows, maybe the friends or family you're with will end up liking it. And because sometimes there's a lot of healthy, great things that taste great that you think wouldn't, or they're like, oh, well, this isn't what I'm used to, but then they end up really liking it, right? It could be a great conversation centerpiece too. Ask about other dishes being served and make your contribution complimentary to them. Consider options like gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, which will likely suit other guests. And yeah, again, the more and more people that are like this, they're coming out with better methods of cooking, better ideas for gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free things that taste delicious, that make you feel kind of more normalized in the environment. There's more things like at Aldi's and Trader Joe's and things like that, where we're seeing these great things. They just came out with gluten-free Oreos, so there's more and more availability, which is really good. And then lastly, we're going to end this with balancing life and food. Remember that life is a beautiful journey filled with spontaneous moments. So don't let your dietary choices or limitations control you. I know, again, even if you don't have an autoimmune disorder or any types of dietary restrictions that are medical based, I still know people who are, and they say, enjoying this dessert is worth me being on the toilet later, or it's worth the upset. And every once in a while that's going to happen. Even me with my thyroid medication, I have to wait 4 hours after eating to take it, because I choose to take it at night. So if I can't really eat past 5:30, that doesn't always happen. And sometimes if I'm eating late at night and I still end up going to bed a little bit early, I'm like, oh well, my absorption is going to be a little bit less than optimal tonight, but I enjoyed myself, and I did what I had to do. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. You can confidently navigate any dining situation with a better understanding and thoughtful planning. And you will no longer feel anxious about your meal choices or need to decline social invitations. I think that's really what it's about, right? It's about feeling a little bit more in control, feeling like you have options. You're not restricted to just like eating out is going to be this greasy, bad food. And then it's also not going to be refined to like this bland, boring, healthy stuff, right? You can have a mixture of what you crave and desire and the fun foods, but also still eat eat nutrient-dense whole foods. Healthy foods can be fun. Healthy foods can be delicious. Nutritious foods can be delicious. We need to change that stigma, and really, you'll be on your way. So I hope this kind of changed your mind a little bit about eating out and maybe cleared up some things. If you have any questions about eating out specifically, feel free to drop them below. I'd love to help you out, and I'd love to answer them. If they're about specific restaurants, even if you have like a go-to meal at like Chick-fil-A or a certain restaurant and you're like, how can I make this healthier? Like, I love this meal so much. What can I do? Let me know and I will answer it below. I'm pretty good at these. So thank you for tuning in to day 2, and I will see you for the final day of the Wellness Reboot tomorrow.